curious how many people listening are actually like the idea of past lives. And if so, why do you like the idea? Do you like the idea of past lives because it means that you don't end? Do you like it because it means that you get what you deserve, that there's some kind of karmic thing? Or do you like it because it's random, like a you know, roulette game? Don't know where that's gonna hit. What am I gonna get in the next life? Who are my parents gonna be? Am I gonna have any? I'll tell you, I think a big cause of our depression in society has to do with the meaning of life. And part of the meaning of life is the afterlife, because what happens after you die. So, because of the communities that have kind of been destroyed because the churches are, have been, corrupt or have kind of fallen and been revealed as to their hypocrisies and so forth, so many of us slipped away from religions and actually hated, religion as we knew it because of the hypocrisy and the things that happened to us. And so we didn't have anything else to go to except sort of the new age ideas or atheism or, just one of the biggest things right now is just the idea of just everything is consciousness. And, that's kind of like saying, I don't exist. It's just, I'm just conscious. And there's a lot that's depressing about that idea too. So past lives are a bit terrorizing, I think. And I think it's a good reality check to really think about what we've been taught to think of as in the new age ideas as that's a cool thing and a good thing. Oh, we have a past life and my past lives are great, and or they weren't great, and that's why I'm such a fuck up. And so there's a whole bunch of excuses going on there and reasons, like reasons for things. And one of them would be, I'm not like very great now, but I had these great past lives. And, so there's different ways that their ideas are coming through, and they're all kind of serving that psyche in some weird way. If you actually stopped and said, okay, let's think about this. I'm going to have another life on planet Earth. I'm going to have to go, beg for a bottle, so to speak, and, and learn language and cry when my needs aren't met because nobody read my mind. And I'm going to have to, fall down just because I'm going to have to try to walk. And I'm going to go to grade school again and junior high. What hell? I have to go to middle school again. And I have to live another life. And then, who knows? I might end up being, a kid that was abandoned in a trash can and have to be raised in foster care. Or, I might get the lucky roulette draw, or if I believe in karmic type past lives and future lives. So we talk about past lives all the time, but what we're doing when we talk about them is we're actually saying, I believe in future lives. I believe in my next life being here on earth. And that is terrorizing and depressing. Nobody's talking about that. It's sort of every time you say my past lives, you're reaffirming that means you get a future life. The spirit world, here's what's happening on that level. So in the spirit world, there are beings that have found a great way to get some kicks off of humanity's malfunction and pain. And they've been doing dark things for a long time to humans. And one of the things they're doing now, and this has been since about the 1800s, past lives weren't really a thing. There's no there isn't like a whole, book in the Bible that's all about past lives and how it works. There's actually nothing. There's no text. There's pretty much nothing. So the only thing that we have where past lives kind of were seeped into the idea of it came from Middle Eastern cultures where, say, a Dalai Lama is going to be the next Dalai Lama and the next one. And what's really happening there is when each one passes, there's no death. So you have a Dalai Lama, he lives a whole life, he passes. He helps, so in his spirit body, so he becomes a guide per se for the next Dalai Lama, and so do all the other ones, and they're all helping kind of with that that next Dalai Lama to lead in their spiritual context of their community. So it's a great idea. It's kind of like, hey, here's a good family. He'll be raised well. And they can see that all from the spirit world. So they kind of check in with the parents in their spirit bodies when they're sleeping. Hey, would you guys be okay if we, made your son, the next Dalai Lama, whatever, however you want to kind of go over that in your mind. And then the child is born, and he's got lots of guides from the spirit world that were all Dalai Lamas. So he's been tagged the next spiritual leader for their community. So that's a really great idea. And somehow that was twisted and turned into the next life and the next life. And that these are actually Dalai Lamas reincarnated. So I can see why, if you're an atheist or agnostic, or you want to believe in God, you want to believe in something, and you have nothing, you can't find anything that really works for you, you say, well, it must be that. So I guess we have past lives. But again, what you're affirming is that you have a future life here on earth that's going to go round and round in the same way. In fact, you're going to have an endless number till infinity, right? Or till the world can't have humans anymore. And then maybe there'll be something else and you'll incarnate as that. So that's quite a terrorizing thought again. And it's also a bit overwhelming and a bit depressing. It puts some meaning into, there is some meaning that says, try to make the world a better place, because goddamn, we all have to come back again, right? So there's something in there, but nobody's really talking about that. They're not talking about the future lives. They're talking about the past lives. And the reason for that is they want credit for things. They want credit for their traumas, for their, where they've landed in the world right now, for the reasons why they're, having divorces and so forth. So they kind of want to blame the past lives on something. They don't really want to talk about the future lives. Oh, my next life, I'm going to be this, right? Nobody's talking about that. Why not? It's because we're denying it. We're afraid of it. We don't really like it. It's kind of like, oh, just put that out of my mind. Because if you actually start to really think about it, you're like, that's a dreadful, dreadful, awful thought. Like, holy moly. Like, when will it end? Grade school again? Seriously? My God, what if I'm born during a pandemic? Will I be a 2-year-old with a mask on? Because the world's kind of going down the tubes. So these are not things that anybody wants to talk about because they're pretty awful. So in the spirit world, there's an agenda for reincarnation. And reincarnation is serving a purpose for these darker people that have passed, which you could say, when we refer to demons in esoteric world, it actually just means spirits. But demons in most people's minds, it usually means negative, something negative. And that's because most of the beings that interfere or do things and make you, have negative thoughts and so forth are darker beings, and they are negative. So not all of the spirit world, obviously, is negative, but we don't refer to like our great grandparents as demons, right? Because they're not full of desires that they're trying to impress upon us, hopefully. Now they might be, so they could be. But these darker beings that were just people like us, they have an agenda. They've been around for a long, long time, and some of them are from even other planets and have a lot of jealousy about humans and so forth. These beings have found a way to really mess with humanity on a new level, and it's with this transgender stuff. So when you have, so let's say you're a male and you pass. And I just had one the other day that I was working with. He just passed due to an overdose of opiates. And when I checked in on him in the spirit world, he was actually in a container, just waiting. And I said, what are you doing in here? And he said, they said they'd come back for me when my next body was ready. And I said, well, you don't have to stay in here. You can just think and be somewhere else. Do you want me to show you how? Do you want to leave here? Do you want to go into that body? And then I explained to him this agenda, and that they're likely going to put him into a female, and you're gonna have this fight, tug of war going on. You got a male and a female in the same body. So the female owns the body because that soul belongs with the body that came forth. Your soul, everybody has a soul, and the soul starts first, the spirit body second, and the physical body's third. So your soul per se is made up of, it's like all your desires, your emotions, your longings, and your it can be in good condition or poor condition, but a baby soul is bright like the sun. And so it doesn't have any errors or any problems yet. It doesn't have any traumas or anything, because it's not coming from a past life. It's coming from like pure longings and desires. And it's being, put with a spirit body that's attached by a silver cord to a physical body. And when you take another person who's been, say in this case, an opiate addict, you say, okay, this will be a real kick if you're a darker being. Okay, we're going to put him in that body, and you can see, you match it kind of or whatever, and that's what, that's where you're supposed to go. And they've got this process so that the person going in there has no idea that that's not where they belong. So they believe they own this body, and talk about, hearing voices, or just that confusion, like devil on one side and, the angel on the other. So this is kind of a really sad thing to see all these transgender people going through such pain. The suicide rate is really high because of the torment that they're actually going through. And anybody that is, passing needs to know that they shouldn't expect that. So if some spirit comes up to you when you pass and says, oh, I'm your spirit guide, and let me, put you into this container where you'll be safe, and you just wait here, and we're getting a body ready for you. And, they could have any number of things that they're going to shame you on or make you feel, or whatever they're going to do. But for the most part, the people that have passed, that become the guides on that end. So let's say, they almost look like the same people that were, and you could say in your schools and in your churches, and the Unitarian Church minister, right? So she would be the perfect spirit guide to say, oh, guess what? You don't have to reincarnate. You get to help other people go through their process. So, they're gonna be like, score on that. I don't have to reincarnate. I get to be just, go through and help people go into their new bodies. And so that's how they're being used. And they're also clueless. And this is a dark agenda that kind of falls into these like other places with these spirit bodies that are, um, you know, like tormenting humans. So, something to be aware of with past lives also is that, maybe I already spoke of this, but that you could get them through a couple of different ways. One can be just even that you have a spirit guide that's been trying to communicate to you who they are. Like you've been asking, who's my spirit guide? Who's my spirit guide? Do I have a spirit guide? Whatever. And then the spirit guide's like, I keep trying to tell you, yeah. And they're give you a little more information. It comes through and you think, oh my God, it's a past life. And they're on the other side going, oh shit. That's not quite what I meant, but okay, what harm is this? I don't know if we have to undo that or if we even can, because your beliefs are what's gonna make it stick. So if you don't have a belief that you are gonna reincarnate, and you don't have beliefs around past lives, you're going to be taken into those other beliefs, whatever they are, until you do enough harm, they fail. So, for, this kind of an icky topic, but like, fanatical Muslims that, take the World Trade Center down, whatever, and they believe they're going to get a whole bunch of virgins as reward in heaven. Well, there are some demonic creatures on the other side that are just waiting to show them into these places, but they are against the plan, the God's plan, and they're negative, and that's why they're darker. So anything that's darker, when you do ayahuasca or anything like that, anytime you're going into a foggier, darker place, that's because it's not part of the plan. It's not in alignment with love, right? So having 20 virgins or whatever is really not in alignment with love. It's because how does it serve them? How does it serve the world, right? It's pretty obvious that that's not in alignment with love. So it's not in alignment with God's ultimate plan, right? It's not in alignment with good. So that's not going to be a bright, happy place, right? It's going to be in part of, you could say, the hells. And, that I don't want to get off on too much of a tangent in that space, because we're talking about like, what are those hells and what are all those spheres and what are all those places? They're interdimensional, you could say. I mean, that's the easiest way to think about them, is dimensions. And that's the way you move through them. And you can't move higher into higher spaces of love. They're like interstellar boundaries. So if you are going into the reincarnation stuff, you're being stuck on the earth plane. And that's not part of the ultimate plan. You're supposed to go into these other dimensions that are higher in places of love and live better lives than you did here on earth. So past lives, really, every time you hear that word, think future lives, because that's really what the psyche's getting, this embedded belief system. And that belief system is then causing people to go into that dark place after they pass, and that's really, really, really bad for the world. It's bad for all involved. It's bad for the parents. It could be, make the child really, really sick if they were sick when they passed due to certain emotional injuries they haven't dealt with. Then when they pass and reincarnate into that body where they're sharing another soul, they're bringing their crap with them. And so we don't want to do that. You know, that's something that, again, it goes against the ultimate plan, and causes you to end up in a darker place. So that's it on past lives. If you have any comments, put them in below, and subscribe to my channel, and let me know if there's any topics you want me to discuss that are kind of woo-woo out there, because I like those. And you know, we'll see you again in the future, and thanks for being here.